a learning revolution is possible. So I think if we take what we now know about our brains from the neuroscience and the psychology and the early child development, and we apply our newest technologies, AI and the internet and big data, and we also make teaching the profession of the 21st century, which I think it will be, then we can bring about a revolution in how we learn. But I agree with you, my experience as a teacher showed me how our education systems really are still stuck in the past. Education struggles to imagine a different future. And I think it's because all of us have sat for 12 years, each of us has sat for 12 years in a classroom, and implicitly we learn what school should look like because we all sat there and we saw what it was like. And so I think we have this problem in education that it's really hard to imagine a new future for education. It's really hard to tell a different story about it that doesn't sound crazy. And it's really, really hard to change the behaviours of students and teachers and parents, even if we know that we do want to change. It's about standardisation of tests. It's about compliance in the classroom. It's about revision, and it's only about memorisation. Now, lots of these things are important in education, but it can't be the whole picture. The way that our minds learn, memory is quite important. So we know now that our higher order thinking skills, things like critical thinking or creativity or cooperation, depend on us having some stuff in our long-term memory. So by memorizing stories from history or memorizing mathematical formulas or memorizing grammatical constructs and getting them into our long-term memory, we free up space in our thinking mind, we call it in our working memory, in order to combine these things in creative or critical ways. So the more you have in your brain that you can recall automatically, the more things you can combine and think about. You can't say that there's one best way of doing education. It depends on what a community or a country wants for its kids. If you want highly compliant citizens that do what they're told and know a lot but don't create any trouble, then you would create a system like you see in Shanghai or in Korea. But if you want a system where people feel comfortable failing and are happy to cooperate and build a cohesive society, you might build a system that looks a bit more like that one in Finland. What a great school looks like in that context, because the head teachers have freedom to change things around and make them happen. And perhaps you could have teachers and head teachers in those countries. And this is where we are the system comes in. If enough teachers and enough head teachers believe in equality and justice, and enough parents believe in equality and justice, then I think that we can create a system of education that builds those values in citizens so that in the future we end up living in a slightly more just and caring world. We have to put education at the centre of what we do. And it has to be an education that encourages the development of our full human potentials, so that we each learn to express ourselves, we each learn to find our passion in life, we each learn to be a bit more empathetic and to work with one another. And maybe then we can begin to change a little bit what society looks like.